Shalom Aleichem, Na'aleh viewers. Today's shiur is dedicated L'ilui Nishmas Rachel Leah Bas Reb Chaim Tzvi. Continuing in the Gemara Brachot, in the second parak of Maseches Brachos, Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Last year we discussed the first halacha of the Mishnah, that the Mishnah states that if an individual was reading from a Sefer Torah and coincidentally it happened to be the time to recite Kriya Shema, if he has kavanah, if he has intentions, then he fulfills the mitzvah of reciting Kriya Shema. And we discussed the issue that Tosfos raises, and it's discussed by other Rishonim, that apparently one can infer from that halacha that the Mishnah states that if an individual was reciting the Shema, the paragraphs of Shema, reading them from a Sefer Torah, coincidentally with Zman Kriya Shema, it coincided with the time of reciting Shema in the morning, that provided that he has intentions, he fulfill his obligation. Apparently, Tosfos says we can infer from here that the obligation of reciting Birchos Kriya Shema, of reciting the blessings that are joined with the recitation of the Shema, both in the Kriya Shema of the morning and the Kriya Shema of the evening, apparently that's not a prerequisite, it's not a requirement that must be performed in order to fulfill the mitzvah of reciting Kriya Shema. Tosfos asked the question that from the Gemara earlier, it seems that brachos are ma'akev. Tosfos answers that there we're dealing with a unique din of Kriya Shema b'tzibur. Kriya Shema b'tzibur, there the brachos are ma'akev, but over here we're dealing with our Mishnah with Kriya Shema shel yachid, with the Kriya Shema of an individual, and as such the brachos are not ma'akev the kiyum of Shema. The Mishnah goes on to state a second halacha. The Mishnah states, Ba'prakim, if a person, we have a machlokes in the Mishnah between the Shita of Rav Meir and the Shita of Rav Yehuda, at what point and under what circumstances is an individual permitted to interrupt his recitation of Kriya Shema to greet another person or to respond to the greeting of another person. So the Mishnah states, Ba'prakim, if a person is between the paragraphs of Shema, Shoyel mipnei hakavod u'meishiv, he is permitted, says Rav Meir, the first opinion, the first Tana quoted in the Mishnah, he is permitted to initiate a greeting in order to greet an individual that one has to honor, and he can respond to the greeting of such an individual. Uba'emtza, in the middle of the paragraphs, he's permitted to initiate a greeting from an individual that there is a situation of fear, one is afraid of this individual. Rashi in our Mishnah states, Mepnei hayira, Adam shehu yorei mipanov shelo yahargeyu, an individual that you're afraid, if you don't respond or you don't initiate a greeting, he may kill you. So Rashi says that Mepnei hayira is a situation of fear of physical harm, fear perhaps of even death, according to Rashi. That's the language of Rashi. Shehu yorei mipanav shelo yahargeyu, you are afraid that this individual might perhaps kill you otherwise. So that's the opinion of Rav Meir, that in that circumstance one is permitted to interrupt in the middle of Kriya Shema. As we mentioned in the previous year, the Rosh in Siman Hey disagrees with Rashi. The Rosh raises the following objection, that if in fact we're dealing with a scenario that this individual that's coming your way is a person that you're afraid if you don't greet him he may actually kill you, so then it's a situation of pikuach nefesh, of a threat to your life. For sure, certainly you're allowed to interrupt in the middle of Kriya Shema to greet him. Pikuach nefesh is doicha kol haTorah kula. So the Rosh states that in fact the case of our Mishnah is not dealing with an individual that you're afraid will kill him, will kill you otherwise, but rather, says the Rosh, v'nired da'oviv v'imay v'rabbai choshev mipnei hayira, that a person's parents and his Rebbe, that's considered a situation with pnei hayira. T'chsiv ish imay v'oviv tiro utnan u'mayra rabcha k'mayra shmayim. These individuals, there's a mitzvah of yira, there's a mitzvah to fear them, and therefore that's what the Mishnah here is addressing. It's not a situation of pikuach nefesh, that of course you're permitted to interrupt the middle of Kriya Shema. The Chiddush here in the Mishnah that Rameir permits an interruption even if this individual is only a person that there's a mitzvah of yira from. There's a mitzvah to fear him. So then you're allowed to